Hi there, boys, fathers, mothers. I'm talking to everyone because when I was young and I was getting into fragrances, I didn't really have the choice to pick my own fragrance. Most of the time, my mother was buying the fragrances for me. She also didn't know what was good. She thought that just buying me a random fragrance will be enough. And to be honest, I myself, who didn't know about fragrances, I was okay with it. Even though I didn't really, every time I was enjoying the fragrances my mother bought. And most of the time they were Avon fragrances. And sometime, a couple of years later, I was buying my own fragrances, and the only fragrances that were available for me were the straight fragrances, which you usually find in a supermarket. So I wish I had some fragrance recommendations. I wish I had the possibility of purchasing my own fragrance. And since I told you that my mother was buying me Avon fragrances, she didn't know back then which Avon fragrance was really good. Avon fragrances in general, I have to say, they're not that good. But there are a couple which are surprisingly good. And the one I'm going to show you out of this list is one that I got to wear a couple of years later when I got a bit more into fragrances. And even now, even today, it is one of the best male fragrances from Avon. Guys, it is Avon Black Suede Touch. Now, I apologize for the bottle looking as bad as it looks, but it's good enough to give you an idea of how the bottle of this fragrance looks, so you have an idea what to search for. But the juice inside, guys, it is really good. It is different from the original Black Suede, which was a more mature fragrance. This one is really for any age, but mostly for the younger crowd. This one is trying to be a fresh, dark, leathery fragrance, but sweet, modern, youthful. This is exactly what it is. You can wear this and you don't feel like it's an Avon fragrance. It actually has the quality of a designer. Even the sprayer is really good. And yes, you're really getting this really nice, fresh, dark, at the same time aromatic, sweet, leathery, almost leathery. It's not leather, but it's that cashmere wood, which gives this really smooth, especially if you're on a tight budget. This fragrance is a steal. It is so cheap for how good it smells, and it's also a nice performer. It performs good. It's not beastly, it doesn't perform very good, it doesn't perform poorly, but it does get you a pretty decent performance, especially if we're talking about Avon fragrances. Okay, so this was it. One of the 5 fragrances I'm going to show you today. Avon Black Suede Touch is something that you really need to look into, especially because Avon is such a big brand these days. It is easily available worldwide. Also really cheap for how good it smells. I highly recommend it for the guys who are going back to school. Before I move on to the next fragrance, I want to give you a quick look at my today's outfit, which clearly states that sometimes I'm also a boy, and yes, I also enjoy wearing these fragrances. Moving on to the next fragrance, and by the way guys, I'm not showing you the fragrance as a top list. I don't have any preferences. These are just a couple of very good fragrances that are highly recommended for wearing them when you go to school. The next one is Jean Paul's Goodyear Ultra Male. Now this is a flanker. You probably already know about this fragrance. Even you, the little guys, you probably know about the fragrance. It is very popular these days. Almost every fragrance reviewer mention it in the cold weather season lists of fragrances, and this is very good. It is in the same genre as the rest of the modern fragrances. You know, it's sweet, it's fruity, it also has that fresh nuance, but this is something different. It is better made in my opinion. It is a bit more complex. It is not as in your face, even though it has a very good projection. It even has a pear note, which is a fruit which usually comes in the fall. I've said this again in my previous video, but that's the truth. And yes, that pear gives it a bit of a different smell than the rest of the modern and popular smelling fragrances out there. So if you want to make a very good impression, even for the guys smelling you, but especially for the girls, you're definitely going to draw some attention. And while the rest of the dudes are going to wear Paco Rabanne's Invictus, which I'm pretty sure you already know about it by now because it is so popular. Almost every teenager these days is wearing it. Now you're going to use Ultra Male, which is even better in my opinion, much better. And yes, you're going to smell different and better. A quick note here, if you don't have the budget to buy Jean Paul's Goodyear Ultra Male, which may be a bit too expensive for your budget if you're buying the fragrance yourself, and I'm talking to the guys who are going to school, you can find a much cheaper alternative in the Zara shelves by going into a Zara store and searching for the fragrance called Zara Gourmand Leather. Very close smell, a lot of juice. You're getting, I think you're getting 100, you can get 120 ml of worth of fragrance for around $20, which is a great bargain. And also that's one of the fragrances from Zara which has a very good performance. Now another fragrance which most of the teenagers and most of the people worldwide are not wearing, so if you're going to wear this, you're definitely going to smell a bit different, but still in the same genre, same modern smelling fragrance. This is coming from a Middle Eastern house which by now has become very popular. It is called Rasasi, the house, and the fragrance is called Tasmeem. Now this, what you get with this fragrance is a sweet, fresh, spicy, creamy tonka bean fragrance. It is very youthful. I find it very pleasant for the younger crowd. It's definitely better made than most of the sweet designer fragrances out there. Also, it is quite affordable. For this whole bottle, you're again going to pay around $20. And trust me, not many people are going to smell like this. Also, you can brag with this fragrance, with this brand, because the brand is very good brand, pretty popular in the Middle East and pretty famous. So you're going to say, I'm wearing a Middle Eastern fragrance. People are going to be impressed. Also, Rasasi doesn't joke around with the performance. You're going to project and you're going to have a fragrance which is going to stay with you at least for the entire day when you're at school. Now I'm going to show you a fragrance which I'm not very fond of, but the fragrance is good, especially if you like Paco Rabanne Invictus. Well, I have to say this because for me, Paco Rabanne's Invictus is a fragrance which is too much worn these days to like it myself. Some other people enjoy it, I have no problem with that. But if you like that fragrance and you want a little twist, you want to smell a bit different and you want a more cool looking bottle, cool. And if you have a lower budget, this is even cheaper, but the performance is very good. I mean, you're not really giving up on anything if you're not paying the full price for Paco Rabanne's Invictus. You're actually getting a more, let's say, a more even fruitier smelling fragrance. Go ahead and try it, or just go in a store and directly try and smell this fragrance, because it is almost available in every store. Azzaro Wanted. And the last fragrance I'm going to show you, again, this is not my favorite, even though it is a very good fragrance. I very much enjoy it, wearing it myself, even though I find it more appropriate to be worn by younger dudes. This is John Varvatos, or John Varvatos the original, or John Varvatos Varvatos. Search for any of these names and Google will help you, will redirect you to the proper fragrance. This is a leather-based fragrance, but it is created and it is blended in such a way that it is not mature. The leather smell is going very well with the leather jacket, and I've seen that most of the younger dudes these days are wearing leather jackets. You know, black outfits, leather jacket. This is exactly for that type of outfit. It even has dates, fruit, which symbolizes fall. Again, a dark fragrance, but also fresh. Not as sweet as Black Suede Touch, a bit more refined, sophisticated. I mean, it is more expensive, but this one is also to be considered very good for the price. But this one, if you want to be more sophisticated, you want to smell even unique, I could say you're going to smell unique with this fragrance. Not many people are wearing John Varvatos fragrances. The performance on this one is okay, it is good. It is probably not as good as the other fragrances I've shown you, but this is definitely better smelling. I mean, John Varvatos doesn't make fragrances that smell like the rest of the designer fragrances or the rest of the fragrances in general. I mean, when you go into a store and smell any fragrance you want and then go and smell a John Varvatos fragrance, especially the ones with the darker bottles, you're going to instantly notice the difference, and some of his fragrances have the smell of niche and more expensive fragrances. So yeah, in my opinion, you can give up on a little bit of that performance to have a very nice smell. But again, it is up to you to decide. Most of these fragrances I've shown you, you can find them for yourself, to test them in a store and decide which one do you like the best. My only duty was to highlight to you these fragrances for you to take notice of and check them in the future, in the near future, because school is almost here, it's almost coming. Also, for the parents who are buying fragrances for their boys, let me know what you think of these fragrances. And until the next video, even you, the parents, mothers, fathers, and you boys, children, until the next video, keep smelling great.